It's all about the backdrop, people. I just want to get the backdrop right because it's such a beautiful backdrop. This is real, by the way. It's not fake. That's really behind me. The center of freedom for all of America, I guess, right now. So I don't even know how to make this straight. I don't know how to just go. I would just go blinding. Anyway, so I'm just here, shooting the stuff. Like I said, I don't want to use expletives. So one topic I always, go over in my head because I talk to myself a lot because I'm like half a lunatic anyway. So aren't we all at this point in time with this country? Why I gave up filmmaking, and I was, oh man, I went to film school and everything. I was gonna be, I wanted to be a filmmaker so bad. Uh, you have no idea how bad I wanted to be a filmmaker. It was like I dreamed of it ever since I was a kid. Ever since my best friend got a PXL 2000 camera for Christmas in 1988. That's how far back we're going. Excuse me, I'm hungover, so I'm drinking. It was it was called a kitty quarter as well. It was a really crappy black and white camera. I used to record video and audio on audio cassettes, which was like revolutionary at that time. But like the guy who made it was a nut, I think. So you could so instead of a VCR or VHS cassette, like a big bulky camera at the time, you could literally take an audio cassette, pop it in, and record on a very small box frame, like very small boxy letterbox. It was beyond letterbox. It was like I think that it had only 2,000 pixels. That's why it was called PXL 2000, but don't quote me on that. How it did it also is that it recorded about like, I don't know, like 8 minutes, 9 minutes of video and audio on one cassette. So if you had a 60-minute cassette, you get like about a couple of minutes of video and audio. That's it. So it was like, because it went through the tape so fast, like cram as much information in as possible. And once I touched that camera, once I had it in my hands, I knew that was it. That was going to be it for life. And yeah. So we're doing skits, sketches, same thing. I used to really love SNL. I thought they were okay at the time. And then like the greatest movie ever made came out, and that was UHF with Weird Al Yankovic, and it was just pretty much a sketch movie. And there was also Amazon Women from the Moon, which was also like a sketch comedy movie, just bits going through. And I thought that stuff was brilliant. And so I got into sketch comedy with a bunch of friends of mine when I was in high school, and we had a group called Cheese Theater, which I really. We worked hard. There's some skits on YouTube. Everybody's a sketch comedian now. If you got TikTok, you're a sketch comedian. It's like, or Instagram. It's just like we were doing sketch comedy in the '90s, for crying out loud. And through whatever trials and tribulations, and not really trials. It's not the right term. Anyway, we were working too long together, and we broke apart, just like any band would. We started out as friends. And then it just became, the sketch group became a job. And I was definitely riding their ass a lot. I can say ass. Yeah, and I was the main driver of that group. And I poked and prodded and yelled at them. And man, because I thought it was going to be, and we were getting somewhere. We were getting attention from people. We were getting attention from a couple of producers, some network affiliate, well, not network, but like production companies, not the networks themselves, but there were a couple of production companies at the time that were producing independent entertainment, like like stuff that, like talk shows, right? They have like independent people producing that stuff, and then they sell it to, I guess, affiliates or whatever. Like they'll put it on Fox or they'll put it on ABC, but there's a company that produces and makes that stuff. So we had people that wanted to get in on with us, and then we were going to go and take it to another level. And so we would have like a production company behind us. I don't know what channel we would be on. I don't know. We weren't going to be on SNL. That's a whole different ball game, and that's something else. I don't even know how. You have to like jump through hoops with SNL, and that's just they're just a bunch of idiots that they didn't hire us because we're really good. So that fell apart. So I went my own way, and I wanted to make my own movies. I wanted to make serious movies. I didn't want to make comedies anymore. My mother passed away back in 2004 from cancer, and a little bit of money that she left for me, I decided to make a movie about my father's Alzheimer's. Like, this was just like a really bad time. So here's my father who got a stroke in '97, and he was pretty much incapacitated for the next 17 years, which was horrifying. And then my mother, who was taking care of him with me, she gets a brain tumor, and then she dies. So here's my mother dying of a brain tumor, and here's my dad with Alzheimer's when I'm like in my 20s. So like, all my friends, they're going to the bank and dropping ecstasy and screwing two girls at a time in a bathroom stall. And I'm trying to make sure that my dad has a hot meal and gets to bed on time. It's like one of the worst days of my life. I'll tell you what was one of the worst days of my life at that time. It was Mother's Day. It was Mother's Day 2003. My mother was she was ravaged by the tumor. She was like gray. She couldn't speak anymore. She couldn't walk. So here's Mother's Day 2003. I didn't have a car at the time. My car died that winter, so I borrowed my friend's car. Well, his mother let me her car to drive out to Long Island, LIJ out there. Long Island Jewish, I guess. Well, the Parker Institute. I think it was called the Parker Institute. Probably still is called the Parker Institute. She's in hospice. So I bring my father, who has Alzheimer's. It's so, I don't know why I'm laughing. Who has Alzheimer's, to go see his wife, who is dying from cancer. And so he sees her. Obviously, he's like devastated because she's dying. He loved my mom, even though they were divorced. He still loved her. And she's looking at him. He's looking at her, and he's like, bawling his eyes out. It's just a bad scene. And I'm like standing and watch like these two people who my parents were like titans of my life. They were huge in my life. They were strong, boisterous people, and just completely like, this guy's Alzheimer's. This woman's dying, and I'm like, great. So I drive my dad home, who's like sobbing almost the entire time, and then we get home. I'm trying to like calm him down, get him to bed, and I'm like doing whatever. I'm like cleaning the apartment. I'm doing whatever, and like about like 20 minutes goes by, and then my father perks up. He says, "Hey, when are we gonna see your mother?" He totally forgot. He totally forgot that my mom. They totally forgot that he saw my mom. He totally forgot. Like that whole day of him sobbing, me feeling like a complete train wreck of a human being, and he didn't even know that we just got back, that we even went anywhere. And that's the power of Alzheimer's. So like, people think that, the human brain is, and the gift of the human mind is to remember. I think the gift of the human mind is to forget. And something as devastating as Alzheimer's, you almost thank God that they can forget stuff like that, because I didn't want him to carry that with him all the way to sleep. I didn't want him to think about it, toss and turn, have nightmares. He totally forgot that he even saw her. Oh, so I used the money after she passed to make a movie about me taking care of my dad, even though I was already still taking care of my dad. And I went through a couple of title changes. It was because I was in Woodhaven at the time. I spent a lot of time in Woodhaven growing up. That's a town in Queens. I was living in Jackson Heights at the time, still living in Jackson Heights, but at the time, I just wanted to make it in Woodhaven because it just was more cinematic, and that's really kind of my childhood neighborhood. And yeah, so I wrote a script about that time. I didn't have my mother dying or anything in that. She was like alive and well in the movie. It's when my dad first got sick, um, which actually he had a stroke and he had dementia and then he had it's all very complicated. You don't know where dementia ends and Alzheimer's begins because it's all just kind of bled into each other. So from then on, I decided like I decided to make a movie based on that experience, and it was called originally The Woodhaven Pause. And then I changed it to Remembering Woodhaven. I just couldn't come up with a good title. And the reason it was called Woodhaven Pause is just because there was this whole thing that the J train above was so low that even when we're talking to friends of ours or talking to anyone, or if you're screaming at someone, the train is so loud going overhead, you'd have to actually stop what you were doing or saying because it was so loud. So it would be pointless to scream, pointless to even talk. So we would actually pause what we were doing as the train thundered overhead. And we used to call it the Woodhaven Pause. You could call it any neighborhood, Richmond Hill Pause, Bushwick Pause, whatever. Any place that has a train rattling overhead to the point that you cannot hear the person even in front of you. That's how loud it was. It just some neighborhoods not so bad, but but this was just particularly clanky, heavy train. So it was just like, yeah, so yeah, we take a pause, a Woodhaven pause. And then I don't know, people didn't get it. Somebody said like pause like on a bear? And I'm like, what? No, not that kind of pause, like a delay, not clause pause. People are so stupid. Um, anyway, I thought the movie was actually all right. It was an okay movie. It was a heavy subject. It was shot well. The script, I mean, I worked really hard to just manage the thing. You know, I shot for like 35 days, had a whole crew, actors, catering, the whole thing. And I was so concerned about just getting it done that like the whatever issues I had with the script and everything, I kind of just was like, the idea of just getting it accomplished was more important than the quality of the writing. And the writing and the acting was hit and miss, but it wasn't. I don't think it was. I don't know. Well, whatever it did, it didn't. It was. I didn't knock one out of the park. I didn't hit a home run. A lot of film festivals didn't want it or see it, and that was that time. It took me like years to edit the thing. I didn't release it until shot it in 2006, didn't release it until 2008. So like it was, even the software wasn't even invented yet to edit because we were using a brand new camera, this JVC HDU 100, I think that was the serial number. I could be a little bit off. 100U. Um, so it recorded. So yeah, it had a good film look. It shot it on, like 16:9, shot on DV, digital video cassettes, like mini DVs. But Final Cut